What's the business benefit to a client of their designer finding their life easy? That's what I want to talk about right now. Welcome to the Daily Video Blog. I'm Joshua Hardisty, MVA Studio, Minneapolis. High above St. Louis Park, not in the MVA Studio, but in a conference room. So I'm doing all this stuff, defining these 4 different design methodologies for how we do work. Kim and I are talking about how to target the wellness industry as a place to do work because of her ongoing interest in making her own cleaning products and eliminating toxins from her beauty supplies has turned her into somewhat of an expert in that area. We are going to get back into screen printing posters again, which we've taken a couple years hiatus from. All of these things, everything we're doing is about making it such that the periods when we're working are easy. They're easy and they make us happy. That's what we're after. And so the question would become, what's the benefit to a client of them bringing us a project and us finding that project to be easy to work on, to be able to do it fast, and to make it fun? Like, what benefit is there? And I think there's a couple things. Stress slows things down. Period. End of story. Stress can slow things down because you can't work because you're stressed out about ambiguity, so you constantly have to circle back and find out whether some ambiguous issue has been resolved. I think stress makes you think very short term. So you're working on a project and you're stressed out about it. I think all your solutions tend towards the short term because what you're trying to do is solve the fact that you're stressed out. A lot of times we don't do the hard thing of saying no to stuff. Instead of doing that, we try to deal with just alleviating the stress of the thing that we're working on by finding some short-term solution. I think the other thing is happy, productive people don't blow deadlines. I am trying to think back over the course of my career, but when I blow deadlines, I'm stressed out. I'm stressed out because I can't find a solution. I'm stressed out because I'm trying to do too much work in too tight a time frame, and that causes more stress, which makes me work slower. I'm stressed out because I feel like I might blow the deadline, and then you blow the deadline. I've never blown a deadline where I was happy and productive and doing amazing. That doesn't happen. You blow deadlines when you set up a situation that makes you blow deadlines. So to me, everything that I'm saying, I think that there is a business case for working with people who are happy, who aren't stressed out because they're hella productive, who don't have to pull all-nighters. I had a job at one point, it was like the most stressful job I ever had in my life. I did not make any good work during that period because I was always more concerned with the stress than with making good work. And even over the course of back like in 2017, I was routinely working on a kind of work with a certain client. So these projects in 2017, they started out 3 or 4 weeks. We could put 3 or 4 designers on it, work at a good pace, but not kill ourselves. Very productive. Over the course of a year, that client compressed the timeframes more and more till our asinine solution was to try to throw 6 designers at something for 4 days. The work was never as good. It ran into more issues. Constantly had to kind of finagle these things. We're like, well, we're gonna have this stuff, but we won't have this stuff. So you run into everything I'm talking about. The solutions aren't as good, the deadlines get blown, so on and so forth. What I'm after is this kind of sustainability. I want to be super happy. I want to be addicted to my work. And when I'm stressed out, I'm not addicted. When I'm stressed out, I'm trying to get done with it. But what I want is to do the thing where I just keep going, okay, just 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. And then accidentally an hour and a half's gone by. That's what I strive for in work. That's what all of our design methodologies are about. They're about making sure that the situation is set up in a way to where we're always trying to do a little bit more, not get through this horrible experience that we're stuck in the middle of. So, two things to think about. If you're on the client side, you will get better work the more buttoned up your shit is. The less ambiguity you have, the more clear your intent is on the project, the more legwork you do, the better the creative results you will get, the easier that they will go, and the less likely you are to run into crap and compromises at the end that ultimately reflect back on you and sabotage your project. If you're a designer and you're stressed out all the time and you have self-doubt and you pull all-nighters and you blow deadlines and all of this stuff, it's not because you have high standards. It's because you've created a situation that makes you miserable. And the thing is, if you can fix what's causing you to do and feel these ways, I promise you your work will get better. A quick anecdote. Circa 2010, when we did a project for the soap factory, the way it typically worked is we'd meet with the curator, we'd read a statement about the project, and then Kim and I would just talk about it. We would typically drive around and just talk about potential solutions to what we could do. That usually worked. Sometimes it didn't. We would give ourselves 2 days to come up with an idea and execute it. And usually we wanted to show like 2 options, but we typically just showed 1. And when we did good work, turned out really good. And sometimes we did crappy work that did not turn out so good. It was weird and free associative and neat, but it wasn't as good as we were capable of. At some point, we stopped working for the soap factory. Now, keep in mind, we had confidence in ourselves, but we would be stressed out. We'd be worried that the idea wouldn't come through. We'd be worried that they wouldn't like the idea, and what are we going to do if they don't like the idea? There was doubt and there was stress. And sometimes we had to go over the allotted time to get something done that we felt good about, that hopefully alleviated our stress. But ultimately, we would show up to a meeting with one project, so we were still stressed out. So fast forward a couple years, I had this weird mid-career crisis where I am teaching, I'm listening to students describe their process, and I have this thought of, dear God, they have no process. And then I had this thought of, oh, and the worst part is their lack of process describes my process. Like, I have no real design process. I realized it was luck. So I started experimenting with process on projects. One of the first ones was a soap factory project. I used more research than I normally did. I used bed node diagrams to generate ideas, and I used pencil sketches instead of designed pieces. Typically what I did was I designed this masterpiece and considered it as done as it could possibly be. And then I'd show it to the client, and then if it changes, I would make those changes, but if they didn't, then it was done 100%. There was nothing to do. So the first meeting, I show up, I've got this different kind of presentation deck. It's got these really shitty, rough pencil sketches, and each pencil sketch has a description, and it has some imagery to explain what I'm trying to get across through the visual. The first one, I believe that I showed 11 concepts. So that's up from 1 to 11. The next one, I showed 8. The project after that, I showed 7 good enough digital comps. With each of those projects, I'd present it, the client would pick one, then I would design it for real, or I'd work with someone to design it for real, or in the case of the digital comps, I then finished it. So it wasn't finished, and the client had some thoughts on it, and I was like, cool, I agree 100% with those, it's not even done anyway. And then I finished it. Each of those projects, they were, in my humble opinion, the best work I'd ever done in my life. So we're talking 10 years into my career, I did the best work I'd ever done. Up to that point, everything was hit or miss. Things were good, things were bad, things were cool, things were weird, whatever. But at that point, I started consistently doing stuff where I was like, shit, this is the best thing I've ever done. And the reason it was the best thing I'd ever done was, one, the process was good, and 2, there was no stress. When you show up to a meeting with 11 concepts and it only took you 6 hours or 8 hours over the course of 2 weeks, there's not much to be stressed about because you know you can come up with more. Didn't blow deadlines. I could actually schedule deadlines earlier than I needed them. At that point, I stopped blowing deadlines. Before that, I used to have to call them up and ask for an extra day all the time. That work became super fun, and hands down, I did the best work I had ever done with types of concepts that I never would have had before, and ways of getting to them that I didn't have before. They got shit that's on time, better work. I don't know what else they need, right? And I got out of it better work, no stress, I could go to bed on time, stuff like that. Big thing comes down to, if you're on your own, you're gonna run a better business by finding a way to be happy. And if you're commissioning work, your life is gonna be better. Your projects are gonna have less screw ups and mistakes and blown deadlines if you make sure that the people you're working with have everything they need to be happy. And then if they screw it up, it's on them, not you. All right, thanks a lot for watching. If you have not subscribed, subscribe, okay? We're out here every day. Peace out.